In 1979, childhood friends and avid Super 8 filmmakers Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell set out to make an extremely low-budget, feature-length horror film. Along with Raimi's brother's roommate, Rob Tappert, they ended up creating one of the most iconic horror movies of its time, The Evil Dead. While studying at Michigan State University in the late 70s, Raimi would screen his ever-growing 8mm portfolio at an on-campus auditorium. As profits from ticket sales grew, so did the ambitions of Raimi and his friends, resulting in the feature-length crime comedy It's Murder in 1977. Though a financial failure, audience reaction to the film's scarier moments convinced Tappert that he, Raimi, and Campbell were capable of making a successful horror film. In order to raise funds for their proposed feature, Raimi and friends shot the horror short Within the Woods as a proof of concept for investors. In it, 4 young adults staying at a cabin built on a Native American burial ground encounter a possessive demonic force. To prepare for the short, Raimi and Campbell studied exploitative horror films at local drive-in theaters. After raising nearly $90,000, production on what would become The Evil Dead began. The Evil Dead centers on 5 college students who retreat to an old cabin in the woods. When the group plays a tape recording of the Sumerian Book of the Dead, they unknowingly release an ancient demonic force. One by one, the cabin's occupants become demonically possessed, with Bruce Campbell's Ashley Williams being the last man standing. Several aspects of Within the Woods made it into The Evil Dead, including actors Bruce Campbell and Ellen Sandwise. For the scene in which Ashley is unceremoniously drenched in blood in the cabin's cellar, Raimi took influence from the Three Stooges short, A Plumbing We Will Go, while its infamous sexual assault by a tree scene was inspired by the coming to life of Birnam Woods in Shakespeare's Macbeth. Originally titled Book of the Dead, The Evil Dead was shot in an old cabin near Morristown, Tennessee in late 1979. The film's iconic cellar didn't actually exist. To fake it, the crew cut a door in the cabin's flooring, dug a 6-foot hole, and used Tappert's parents' basement in Raimi's garage to double for the location. The slapdash production involved real gunfire, shattering glass, and a multitude of injuries. The film's demonic force POV shots were achieved by mounting a camera to a 2x4. Named the shaky cam, this technique was just one of several low-budget rigs used on the production. When the film ran over schedule and over budget, Raimi continued shooting with what he called fake Shemps, in reference to the body doubles used after Stooge Shemp Howard's death. For the film's decomposing climax, effects artist Tom Sullivan convinced Raimi to use stop-motion animation, creating one of the goriest scenes in the franchise. Notably, Joel Cohen of the Coen brothers worked on the film as an assistant editor. Luckily, everyone's dedication paid off. On a final budget of $400,000, the film grossed more than $2 million. Raimi's next film, the ill-fated Crime Wave from 1985, was a financial bomb. In need of another hit, Raimi returned to the cabin in the woods with 1987's Evil Dead 2. Due to rights issues, Raimi wasn't able to recap the first film as he intended. Instead, Evil Dead 2 begins with a simplified retelling of The Evil Dead, with Ash and his girlfriend Linda staying at the cabin alone. After the two play the recording of the Book of the Dead, Linda is transformed into a demonically possessed deadite, which Ash quickly and traumatically disposes of. Following his own battles with demonic possession, Ash is visited by the cabin owner's daughter, Annie, along with a few tag-alongs, only to discover Annie's possessed mother is dwelling in the cabin's cellar. After several sequences of demonic mayhem, Ash and Annie end up summoning a Kandarian demon in the flesh and creating a time vortex that transports Ash to the 14th century. The tone of Evil Dead 2 is markedly different from its predecessors. With his main character spending much of his screen time alone, Raimi chose to inject his film with heavy doses of Stooge-style slapstick comedy. In doing so, Campbell's character became the wisecracking, chainsaw-wielding, shotgun-toting badass fans now know and love.
groovy.
Ash's routine with his possessed hand was inspired by co-writer Scott Spiegel's short Attack of the Helping Hand, featuring an antagonistic hamburger helper mascot, while the film's ridiculous flying eyeball gag was lifted from the Stooges' short Microphonies. For Evil Dead 2's demonic special effects, Raimi hired future K&B Effects Group founders Robert Kurtzman, Greg Nicotero, and Howard Berger. To avoid getting an X rating, Raimi minimized the use of realistic blood by alternatively using black, green, yellow, and blue bodily fluids. Despite this attempt, and distributor Dino De Laurentiis having been signed to an MPAA contract, it was decided to release the film unrated through a fake company. After directing the successful superhero film Darkman from 1990, Raimi fleshed out his trilogy with Army of Darkness in 1993. When Ash finds himself in the 1300s, he proves himself a slayer of Deadites, only to be sent on a quest to recite an incantation over the Book of the Dead. Unfortunately, Ash forgets the incantation and accidentally summons an army of Deadites and an evil version of himself to life. Originally titled The Medieval Dead, Army of Darkness skewed the series even further into slapstick comedy. The film's time-traveling storyline was first written as part of Evil Dead 2, but due to budgetary constraints was held over. In crafting Ash's medieval adventures, Raimi took inspiration from Mark Twain's A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels, and Ray Harryhausen's film Jason and the Argonauts. Famously, the film's incantation,
Klaatu Verata Nikto,
was stolen straight out of the 50s sci-fi film The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Klaatu Verata Nikto.
The film's original ending, in which Ash takes a sleeping potion in order to return to his own time period, but accidentally sleeps too long, was disliked by distributor Universal Pictures. In its place, a new ending was shot where Ash returns to his own time and takes on a Deadite while on the job at S-Mart. A fourth Evil Dead film was rumored for more than a decade. However, in place of a sequel, fans were given a remake in 2013. The film structures itself around its main character's drug rehabilitation, adding another layer of depth to its otherwise generic plot. In keeping with the tone of Raimi's film, Evil Dead's gore factor was stretched to its limits, paying homage to, and at the same time, differing itself from the original. Ultimately, Ash's battles against the Deadites continued in the ongoing TV series Ash vs. Evil Dead, returning to the comedic form of previous incarnations. Despite its increasingly comedic tone, the Evil Dead trilogy is regarded as one of, if not the, greatest horror trilogy. When it comes to giving Kandarian demons a swift kick in the ass, Sam Raimi is king. And
hail to the king, baby.
This video was funded by fans on Patreon. If you'd like to support my channel, click the link below to head there now. And don't forget to subscribe and check out my other videos.